today I'm going to teach you how to go from this to this. But the first thing that you want to do with your tips is size them. You want to make sure they go from sidewall to sidewall, but not overflowing onto your finger. I typically use the Beetles nail tips and I just get them on Amazon, and I'm just going to go ahead and size each finger. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to prep my stands since I do press-on nails, and you can also get these on Amazon. Then I'm going in with base coat. Again, I use Beetles gel polishes as well. I love Beetles and I get everything on Amazon, so it's super easy. And I'm just going to do a thin, even layer across each nail and then cure these for 120 seconds. Once these are done curing, I'm going to do the first coat of color. I'm using this red on the pinky and again just doing a thin, even layer on the nail. You don't want these layers to be too thick, otherwise they won't cure all the way. Now on the ring and middle fingers, I'm going in with a sheer nude color. You can change this and match it to better fit your skin tone, but I really like this one. And again, just doing another thin coat. On the pointer finger, I'm going to use a light pink color, and on the thumb, I'm going to use the same nude that I used on the ring and middle fingers. I'm going to cure these for 120 seconds as well, and then I'm going to do a second coat of each color and cure these to make them more opaque. Now I'm going to prep my color palette before I start any of the designs to make it easier as I go. I'm just putting a drop or two of the colors that I want to use on the palette. And now I'm just going to start the designs, starting with the pinky. I'm going in with a thin layer of the Beetles blooming gel to make the aura design, and it's important that this layer isn't too thick, otherwise it can affect the bloom. Now without curing the blooming gel, I'm going to use a small liner brush, and I'm going to pick up some of the white that I prepped earlier, and very carefully I'm going to find the center of the nail and just let the polish fall off of the brush and onto the nail. I find this method to be easiest when doing an aura effect nail. If your drop gets off-centered, you can always wipe the nail off with a lint-free wipe and start over. Once you're happy with how it bloomed, cure it for 120 seconds. This can get a little tricky with blooming gel because some designs bloom quickly, but with aura nails, I like to let them bloom for a few minutes in order to disperse fully. On the ring finger, I'm going to make a crisscross pattern across the nail. Unfortunately, my phone decided to not record the beginning of this nail, but I will be using a dotting tool and dot where I want the crosses to intersect, then use a small liner brush to extend the polish outwards. I'm using the light pink color that I showed in the beginning for this nail. Once I'm happy with how that looks, I'm going to cure this for another 120 seconds. On the middle finger, I'm going to start with a French tip. I like to mark the top of the French tip, drag it upwards, and then go in on the sides and then fill in the rest to make the French tip. I found this method works best for me to keep it as symmetrical as possible. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to cure this nail. On the pointer finger, I'm going in with a thin layer of blooming gel to make a flower. This nail can get a little tricky because it does bloom quickly, so be ready with all the tools that you need. Using the red from earlier, I'm going to take a dotting tool and make 5 dots in a circle. Then I'm going to take a liner brush and pull the color into the middle of the circle, and you can see how quickly the bloom happens. It closely, I'm going to see how long I want the color to bloom, then immediately cure it for 120 seconds. Onto the thumb, I'm going to make this nail a French tip as well, going through the same steps that I did for the middle finger. Once all of these nails are cured, I can start with the actual designs. On the pinky, I'm making a heart in the same shade as the base color. Doing this on top of the aura bloom makes it look like it was a blooming gel heart, but in a way easier way, and the effect looks super cool. The easiest way to make a heart is to use a small dotting tool to make the top of the heart and dragging it at an angle and then matching it on either side and using a liner brush to clean up the tip of the heart. On the ring finger, I'm making hearts in the intersections of the pink crisscrosses in red, and then on the sides of the nail, I'm making small dots with the dotting tool where the pink lines end. Almost kind of like a ballet slipper pattern. And then on the middle finger, I'm going to make a scalloped lace edge pattern around the French tip using a small liner brush and a tiny bit of polish on the brush. And I'm just using white polish here so it blends into the French tip seamlessly. So back onto the pointer finger, I'm going to finish the blooming gel flower. Using the same color polish as the flower, I'm taking a liner brush and creating wavy lines that go in between the petals. This just adds some dimension to the flower. These lines do not have to be perfect either, so don't worry about making them look the same. Almost let the brush do its own thing, and it looks like tendrils that a flower would normally have. Now on the thumb, I'm going to start with making an XO in the blank space. This can be a little tedious, so just be patient. I sped this part up a lot, but I am moving very slowly while I'm doing this XO. After I'm happy with how that looks, I'm going to make a few kisses on the nail using a dotting tool and a liner brush. I practiced this a few times on my palette, but I'm going to place 2 dots close to each other and drag those out into points to make the top lip. Then I'm going to place another dot below those in between them and leaving a small gap for the lips. I'm going to drag this color to the sides as well to finish the kiss. I'm going to make a few of these kisses in different spots across the nail. When I'm making a few different designs, I like to cure the nails while I work on another nail. It just helps save time and it also keeps me busy the whole time. Most of my nails are done, but I'm going to finish the middle finger. I'm making 2 hearts with my dotting tool. Then with my liner brush, I'm going to make a bow at the top. This bow can also be very tedious, but again, just be patient. Once I'm happy with that, I'm making the tails of the bow connect to the hearts. This is easiest when, again, you just let the brush move on its own. Once I'm happy with the nails, I'm going to do the last round of curing for the nails that need to be cured, and then put a top coat on the nails and cure this again for another 120 seconds. And this is the final design. This was only one hand, but I'm going to repeat this design for my other hand. Thanks for watching!